In response, in continuation of our freedom struggle and our attempt to create a democratic secular republic, was also a response to the British design of dividing the Indian subcontinent based on religious identities. Now, the almost 25 years of protracted struggle by the Bengali-speaking people of Pakistan, they revolted. It all started in 1952 when Urdu was sought to be imposed on the people of East Pakistan. And finally, the trigger was the denial of rights of the elected representatives in the eastern part of Pakistan by the Pakistani rulers, and that led to the freedom struggle for a secular principle of recognizing the linguistic, cultural identity of the Bangla-speaking people of East Pakistan. So, in a way, the foundation of Bangladesh is based on same principles of which led to the formation and establishment of the democratic secular principles in our constitution. Now, as we know that this historic day, the Indian government and the Indian people had extending solidarity, but also in militarily attempting to repulse the moves of the military junta of Pakistan. And sometimes we tend to forget that and see this merely as a military feat by India to ensure the establishment of Bangladesh, but essentially it is the people's struggle, the freedom struggle of people in Bangladesh now, which led to this momentous development. I think the relationship between India and Bangladesh has been determined by the very nature of the liberation of Bangladesh and to move towards a situation where the principles on which Pakistan was created is challenged. In a way, the existence and blossoming of Bangladesh itself is a denial of the principles on which Pakistan was created. So, in that sense, it is very, very important to have a member which refuses to accept religious identity as a basis for nationhood and the nation state. Now, definitely the relationship between India and Bangladesh has been checkered. The initial years of bonhomie have been punctured at times, disrupted at times with difficult issues. Now, during the British period, the water resources, which was there under an integrated management of the colonial administration, had to be appropriately and legitimately settled, because Bangladesh is a country which has tremendous water resources. So, sharing of river waters have been a major issue. The second question was particularly after the outbreak of fundamentalist forces globally and their attempt to make Bangladesh an operation of their obnoxious activities. Now there also, particularly after the formation of the Awami League government, I think there has been much improvement. The earlier occasions where particularly the northeast, where sought to be disrupted by forces basing themselves on the soil of Bangladesh. But through relentless persuasion and the role that the Bangladesh government had come to play, this has substantially improved. The question of water sharing also had its moment of glory when the Bangladesh-India treaty on sharing Ganga waters was effectuated. But there are still vexing issues about Jista, about other issues. The third most important question, which has also had its influence on the relationship between the two countries, was the economic question, because initially in this entire region, Indian economy was way bigger than its other neighbors. So that created a sort of sense of insecurity among its smaller neighbors who were not economically in so much of a developed position. And it is because of this economic factor that there have been instances of migration from Bangladesh to India, even after the victory of the liberation war. Bangladesh was established. But again, subsequently, the progress of the Bangladeshi economy now has created a situation where that question also has gone substantially to the background. The fourth question, what Bangladesh has achieved in this 50 years in terms of economy, particularly the social development, the human development, has actually influenced the situation whereby there are greater areas of cooperation. Another fifth issue which is come up is the relationship between China and Bangladesh, and it is being seen that in various cases the overall dependence of Bangladesh on India in terms of its economic growth trajectory has been counterposed by the growing economic relations between India and China. Here I think there is a misplaced understanding that the Bangladesh government or the Bangladesh state has to depend on India continually, and therefore any exercise of their option in terms of their relationship with China need not be looked down, because in the modern world it's a interdependent world. Therefore, no country's choice of partners in their economic activity can really be denied. Therefore, I think on that question also India has to take a broader view. One fact has actually dominated this process, that the failure of the SAARC forum, South Asian Regional Forum, to consolidate, unlike many other such regional forums. I think that also has contributed to certain misgivings in in terms of our relationship with Bangladesh. And I think it will be wrong on our part to expect that the role that the Indian people played in expressing solidarity with the liberation war in Bangladesh and the role that Indian armed forces played in terms of actually denying the rampage that was carried out by the Pakistani army and its local Rajya. Pakistan and the exercise of their choice to create a nationhood based on linguistic and cultural specificity rather than the religious identity. I think in that they very much share the principles that went into the making of our constitution. And I think it is because of the, fundamentally because of the resilience of the liberation struggle of Bangladeshi people, aided by solidarity from our own people as well as solidarity across the world and the military intervention that India effected in denying the military outrage that the Pakistani regime, military regime, tried to thrust upon the Bangladeshi people to reverse their will when they elected an Awami League government, which has seen this victory 50 years back. And this is an occasion where I intend to extend our wholehearted greetings to the Bangladeshi people. And they have come a long way from where they have started. Their economy, in a comparative sense, is doing well. They have extremely remarkable achievements in human development and social sector development. I think we in India must recognize that each country, however small they may be, they have the sovereign right of exercising all their options, what is available to them in a changing global environment. I mean, it will be foolhardy on our part to expect that since we have played that significant role in the liberation of Bangladesh, they would remain perpetually indebted to us and refrain and expect that they will refrain from exercising the options that are available to them. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
You said that the overall economic growth of Bangladesh should not become a factor of Indo-China relations. So would you explain that a bit?
Initial days, the development of Bangladesh was overtly dependent on India, and it was only natural because of the physical proximity of Bangladesh, because of our shared history, and because of the role that we have played in the freedom struggle. But later on, as and how the situation is developing, now there are other countries, notably China, which is also aspiring to be a partner in the development process of Bangladesh. Therefore, that did not overly worry us, because that is the way that relationship and diplomacy is growing in the current situation. The other problem is that because of our internecine problems with Pakistan, the SAARC forum, which was available to us to create spaces for such flexibilities, also has not functioning as well as it should, and they have not galvanized in the manner that other regional forums have galvanized, thereby
Sir, in your views, what should the government do more so that these relations are strengthened? Thank you so much, sir.
At that point in time, Gujarat was the Prime Minister of this country. I distinctly remember he made that statement in the Parliament as well, that you see, our concern was have to have a passage through Bangladesh, because especially if we have a free passage through Bangladesh, I mean that would significantly improve our efforts to bring about development in the northeast. And I distinctly remember Mr. Gujral saying that if we give unilateral tariff benefits for Bangladesh, that would eventually help us, because then if there is a growth in bilateral trade and commerce, I mean ultimately that has to be brought to India, and that cannot take place without a effective passage coming into place. And the second question that Gujarat government addressed was actually signing the Ganga water sharing, that he actually wrote in the West Bengal Chief Minister Nilotpal Basu, who took this very broad approach that being neighbors, I mean, if we have to share our happiness, then we have to also share the agony. So the water requirements of Bangladesh has to be addressed by India, and India being a bigger neighbor and a bigger economy, India has disproportionately greater responsibility in addressing those concerns. So I think such thinking, but later on, unfortunately, when it comes to Tista waters or other water resources, similar sagacity we have not been able to display.
Thank you so much, sir. Should anybody else have any questions?